Hey everyone, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast. On this episode, we have Justin and his wife Toni Reeman, and they had a Bigfoot encounter in Briceville, Tennessee, in the Cumberland National Park. They witnessed a Sasquatch chasing a rabbit out in the open, and they could even hear it crashing through the woods when it took off. This is not the first report that I've taken of Sasquatch pursuing small game, and it sounds like rabbit is on the menu, and they really enjoy eating them. Sasquatch are opportunistic creatures, and they will seek out many food sources to satisfy their many needs. Tennessee sounds like an excellent area for Sasquatch, and I've had many people in the past report their Bigfoot encounters on Sasquatch Theory, and people have also found awesome tree structures from the state of Tennessee. If you enjoy Sasquatch Theory, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And of course, if you have a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share with me, please feel free to get in touch with me anytime. Alright guys, with all that being said, let's dive into our next Bigfoot encounter from the state of Tennessee. Alright Justin, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. Justin, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
All right, sounds good. My name is Justin Reeman. I'm an outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman. I'm a Marine Corps vet, and I just love the outdoors. I'm a father of. I actually have 4 kids, so we like to get outside and off the tablets as much as possible. And so a couple of years ago in 2022, was it April? My wife's sitting here with me, Toni. But in April of 2022, we have side by sides and 4-wheelers. We found this park in Tennessee. It's in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. It's called Windrock Park. We live in Mobile, Alabama, so it's flat down here. We love to go to the mountains in the spring and in the wintertime also. So anyway, we found this cabin. We stayed at Windrock Park for 1 week, and it was just, real touristy, a lot of people riding all around the cabin all the time. And we said the next time we're going to come up, we're going to stay, somewhere secluded. So we found this place called Lygea's Fork in Briceville, Tennessee. So it's basically, it's attached to this big 26,000 acre ATV park, but it's just over the mountain. So it's very secluded. It's probably about 45 minutes from the big park. So we found this little cabin, and right when we got there and checked in, there's a sign of Bigfoot on the door, right on the right side of the door. And I was like, no way, because I'm into Bigfoot and the paranormal and supernatural and all. I think it's really cool. I've always believed in it. If a lot of people see it, then it's obviously something's going on, and it's interesting, So I was like, babe, we might get a chance. There might be, something might happen. Yeah. So basically that was our, introduction of maybe, we're in Bigfoot country. So, I asked the locals that checked us in. I said, have you guys seen any Bigfoot or when was, any sightings or anything? And they said back in the 70s. And I was like, well, will they just disappear, or get chased out, but these are mountain people. So, I guess they're not going to open up a lot to outsiders, but I mean, really great people, nice people. So anyway, so the day of the encounter, actually we've been riding all day long. We got our 4-wheelers off the trailer. We took off riding. We've been there for about 2 or 3 days. This day, was another day of just riding all day through the mountains and through across creeks and I noticed when we stopped that rocks would be thrown at us. Did you remember that? And I'm like, well, who's throwing rocks? And it happened like 2 or 3 times. Like every time we would stop, rocks would be thrown at us. And I'm looking, yeah.
a very small area. It was like cabin. It had like a creek behind us, right?
Yeah.
But and then it was not maybe like 20 steps in any direction. We were surrounded by woods,
Right.
correct? So we didn't, it was rocks being thrown a couple different times from different directions.
Yeah.
We were out walking around or whatever.
Yeah, but this day especially, so I wanted to do an afternoon ride with my dog, because he didn't get to go with us during the day, and he's a white like hunting dog kind. He's not a hound dog, but he's I would say he's kind of like a bird dog, but he's real aggressive. He chases squirrels. He hates cats. He's always hunting cats and stuff in the neighborhood. But so anyway, we're riding down this road, this country road, and all of a sudden I smell something really, really strong. And then that triggered all those testimonies of people saying they smell a wet dog, but it smelled like pee, it was very strong. And instantly I was like, man, that's big, that smells like Bigfoot. And I mean, it wasn't even 2 seconds later, I hear this gut wrenching scream, and it was a high pitched. I could hear it over the engine of the side by side that we have, but I mean, it was the loudest scream. And as soon as it stopped, my dog just just going crazy, and I even pulled out my phone and started filming right after.
He feels or see something or feel, what I mean, when he knows something's there.
Yeah. So anyway, so I get back to the cabin and I tell my wife and kids, and we're pretty tired from the day. So it was about dark now, and I grab West and Tristan, my two boys, and I load up in the side by side to go get firewood. And we hop in the side by side, and it's a 1 minute drive. You got to drive down the driveway, cross a bridge, and then you get there's a firewood station right there. And so we loaded up the firewood, and when we came back, my wife had run up on the porch and she's screaming, something black, something. Well, at first she said, I peed myself. There's something black chasing a rabbit, just ran across the road. And I turn off the side by side and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, and as soon as I turned it off, you could hear stuff running all through the woods around this cabin. We didn't hear anything the whole time we were there up until this moment, and you could hear footsteps running across the creek. You could hear them running through the woods. So, I mean, it was multiple. It wasn't, yeah, we just pulled up right when this thing ran across the drive. And she said it was kind of phasing in and out. It was black and it was running on two legs and it was phasing in and out like blurry. Yeah. So, my dog, the way he is, he takes off in the woods and I'm screaming, because I was like, man, it was just a million thoughts ran through my head. I was like, if a Bigfoot he's dead, I don't, and I mean, I love my dog. He's 8 years old now, but he's 6. I mean, he's like my buddy, Um, but, and so the boys are right next to me. My wife's on the porch and my dog takes off running through the woods and you can just hear stuff running everywhere. And then all of a sudden you hear the loudest whistle. I mean, it was like mimicking a bird or something, but it was like, cuckoo. How would you make that sound? Something like that. But just so you could hear the size and the lungs and the lips on this whistle. And I said, and right after I heard it, man, everything froze. You couldn't hear a peep. And I said, get inside now. And they ran inside and locked the door. And I'm screaming for my dog, Coda, Coda, Coda. And he comes running back up to me. And we all went inside. I grabbed a flashlight and went back outside looking, shining everywhere, and couldn't see a thing, and and that's it, isn't it? Yeah. What in the world was that? Yeah.
Hey, I'm Toni Reeman. I'm Justin's wife. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah,
So
doing fine.
good. Good to hear. And
Yeah.
so you guys were driving whenever you had this encounter?
My husband was with the our children, and so I was at the cabin. I was left there I just decided to stay behind so they could go get firewood just to, stay there. And so while they were gone, actually this encounter had just happened. So when it happened, it just so happened they pulled up right, I mean, immediately after, and it was so soon after to where they were able to hear the ruckus of, the aftermath of it. I was sitting on the back of my husband's truck. He had the back of the tailgate down. And I was just sitting there, just, it was right. I mean, dark, it was dark enough to where you really could not, I mean, it was that point, like 8 o'clock in Tennessee, to where it was pretty dark and you couldn't see too far away from you, but it's still light, almost light enough to where, I could make out if it was like a rabbit or a creature. To my knowledge, I would be able to make out, but it was still getting dark. I mean, by the minute. And I was just sitting there waiting. I thought that I heard, I think that I did hear a whistle. I heard something first, whistle, whatever. I think I did hear a whistle first. Now that I'm recalling, I know there's a whistle after that. I know that too. I'm thinking that I also heard a whistle in the beginning, but all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I see this thing. A rabbit came so in front of our cabin. So when you approach our cabin, like he said, you're on the main road, which is a secluded road, 45 minutes from any Walmart, but you're on this road and then you take a left into the cabin, development. It's like Lygees. You take a left and then you cross over this little bridge. It's got like water underneath it. You cross over a bridge and you can go right to a cabin, straight ahead to a cabin, or left to a cabin. And we took a left and that, veered off to our cabin. Yeah. And so when you take a left and you come up to the cabin, it's maybe, I don't know how long, 100 yards of our driveway. So where the truck was, it was half of that length, 50 yards maybe. And a rabbit is crossing our little driveway. And right behind that, it was this on two legs, black, it was very fuzzy. It was like that blurry, figure. And never seen anything like it. I just was so scared. It looked massive, and I was so scared that, I mean, I, peed on myself. And then things just don't, I've hunted, growing up with my father. So deer, if seeing things like that, I just would not typically get spooked by an animal. So and it just, it kind of, affected the core of my being. And I saw their headlights, and I was just like, I'm like, I'm here by myself. I see this thing. We've been talking about, wouldn't that be so cool if we had a sighting? And, but you tend to forget about it with kids around and activities. And I'm just sitting there by my lonesome. And so when a rabbit crawled, I'm like, oh, cool. And then, and normally it would be cool, but something wasn't so, like, it's just scary, very scary. And then I saw, like I said, it was a very blurry chasing right after. You could hear the rabbit, you could even hear the feet, but it was a fast, I mean, as fast as a rabbit. The rabbit was running from this being, and I just cannot make out like the outline, very blurry. And I thought, oh, thank God I see headlights, which was the side by side and my husband and children. And I ran to, and I explained it immediately to them when they came there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting encounter. And can you describe what this
Yes.
creature looked like?
It was on 2 feet. It was definitely a black. I could definitely tell that it was a thick, very massive and ouched in some way, almost like running super fast. So, you know what I mean? Like really trying to get this rabbit, so it was not just kind of peacefully, I mean, it was getting after it and trying. And when it, yeah, obviously hunting, that's exactly what I thought. So whenever it crossed over the path, our driveway, to the cabin, like I said, I know 100% was a rabbit. And then right behind, almost in arm's reach, and I didn't see arms, but it was just, like when I do see a lot of these shows of big, it was still crouched over, but massive and large and very dark and black. And it was not minding me at all. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like, threatened. I just had never seen anything like this before. I did not know what it was. And it was hard to make out like an outline because it was almost like it wasn't really supposed to maybe be seen. That it was like blurry. Um, Almost like kind of like when you see something like, you want to put your hand through, it's like I don't, maybe translucent. Maybe that's a good word to say. Yeah, very translucent, but blurry. That's how can I can imagine. And so when you cross that driveway, both thing behind it, it wasn't long. I wasn't able to see very much of it once it crossed the driveway, because once you cross the driveway, soon you get, behind the cabin, and then woods are right there. And so it was a very brief moment.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And what do you think caused it to look translucent? Do you think it was the speed, or do you think there was something more to it?
I think there was something more to it. It did not look natural. It did not look something that I would be able to recognize or explain to someone, without sounding weird. What do you mean? Blurry. What do you mean translucent? I don't know what I mean. I just know that it was not like, what we know, seeing something move. It wasn't it was almost like um it just wasn't something natural, you know what I mean? So I don't think it was caused by speed. I don't think it was caused by, the motion of it. It was not it wasn't the same as when I saw the rabbit. And when you see a rabbit, you see a rabbit and you see its body and you see an outline, and you're able to draw it, and make out features. This was kind of here, but not here. Stuck in the middle somewhere, I could see something, but definitely that blurry, object moving. And I knew it was moving. I know it was moving, I know it was chasing, and it looked like it was hunting. I just hard, very hard to explain something like that.
No, I completely understand. So we can say for sure
Yeah.
this creature was out hunting, and it didn't pay any attention to you guys. At any point, did it look over at you guys and acknowledge you?
Didn't. No, sir. No, sir. Not at all.
Yeah. And what time of year was this?
This was April, the beginning of April, and it was of 22. And the odd thing about this trip, in Tennessee, where we are, the more north that you ride up, there's mountains. It's very mountainous. So when there's it is all wildlife management. Cumberland, I think, is the actual, like, the national forest around. So when you ride yours, when we were on our side by side, the time of the year is in April. It will snow about 2 days out of the year of April. We just happened to catch one of those days. So the day before this, I believe, or maybe the first day we were there, but we traveled, up north on this mountain, and we were able to be in snow at some point. It was like like a snowstorm, so it was cold, still cold, and then, during later in the day it warmed up a little bit. So that's kind of what the weather was like.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And
Sure.
the Cumberland River was close by. Is that correct?
What do you think?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We have, I'm not 100% sure on that part. You know what I mean? But I do know, just with, the map that we had, and what was it? Near Briceville is exactly where we were, was Briceville, wasn't it? But you'll notice if you look at the terrain, and if you study the map,
They're all big rivers.
there are big rivers. I just don't know if that's Cumberland. I didn't notice that, but it might be. But that is the forest, Cumberland National Park. 20 minutes north of us is Rocky Top, where
Okay.
Briceville
Yeah,
is.
I'm looking at a map and it just seems like there's waterways everywhere and a ton of forest all
There
over the
is.
place. So
There
there's a lot of
is.
reports from Tennessee and the Kentucky area. So that's just a
Really?
massive
Okay.
area.
Wow. Okay. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I interviewed someone in the past and they talked about seeing a Bigfoot chasing a rabbit and he described it exactly how
Are you
you did.
serious?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the channel somewhere.
Wow.
I'll have to dig it up and
Are
send
you
it over to you.
serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. Just to compare, that would be so neat to hear someone else, have a similar story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy. Very crazy.
Yeah, and what else happened after that? You said you could hear the rabbit running off and the Sasquatch running in the woods. Is that correct?
I could. When my husband pulled up, I saw headlights. It was dark enough where, his headlights were on. So as he came up and parked, I was in the midst of trying to tell him all of this. So then we have our dog that's now involved, because, they approached, I mean, we're talking like immediately after I noticed this cross in front of me, the rabbit, and then obviously I know it was a Sasquatch. And then all of a sudden I see headlights, and I'm like, I didn't think of Coda, our dog, and it was so wild. Everything was in, you've got children. I'm wet and scared, and then I'm trying to explain this to my husband, and then our dog. And I thought, oh gosh. So see, our dog doesn't, he doesn't. He'll bark. He is our guard dog. If anyone or so he knew, he just took off. He took off after the hunting episode. I mean, yeah, he took off and he wanted a part of it, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, after the whistle, he really did. And a lot of times we may not find him. There have been other, experiences where we thought we may lose our dog, but he did, especially out there. He could go miles. Yeah, miles and miles, but he sure did come back after that whistle. It was not long because we were inside right after that. We all went inside. My husband came back out by himself.
So you guys were worried that the Sasquatch got the dog, huh?
Absolutely. We thought, that's it. Yeah, because we didn't have a leash close by. It was just panic mode, and we all thought. I know Justin was thinking it, and I think I said it that oh my, we're never. What if we do not get him back? I mean, I was concerned about that. We were screaming. The kids were screaming, Coda, Coda, but and I'm screaming Coda. I'm thinking, oh well, there's lunch or there's dinner. We may not see Coda, but he came back.
Yeah,
He
that's
came
good.
back.
And is
Yeah.
there anything else that you'd like to share? Any other experiences that you've had in your life?
Um, Actually, that was it. It's very exciting to share that. I've never experienced anything like that, and it was very recently we started really getting interested, just watching these shows and episodes, and I mean that, and so now we seek it. After this, we that's one of our top things that we enjoy watching, whether it's documentaries or interviews or, so anyway, we just find it interesting, and exciting, but like so uh, just so cool. Yeah, exactly. Just hearing, and then there's so many different stories, but there's so many common, you know, uh, truths to it. You know what I mean? In the end, it's like, gosh, there's a common denominator. There's so many of them. You know what I mean? And so it's fascinating, very fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tony, I really appreciate you for sharing your part
Yeah.
of the encounter
Thank
with me.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you again, hopefully. I'll
Uh,
pass you to Justin, okay?
all right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Hey, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
Justin. So,
Hey.
after that encounter, what else happened in your life? What else have you experienced? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Uh, well, after that, it's yeah, a lot of things. As far as like UFOs, I've seen a couple. I've filmed a couple. Um, but yeah, after the Bigfoot, and I mean, I wanted to go back up there to Briceville. If anybody's interested in looking for Bigfoot, I suggest going up there for sure, because it's just nothing but mountains, and then it's really accessible to the public. So you can go anywhere and everywhere up there, and it's totally wild. But yeah, I've seen UFOs and filmed UFOs, and I have that on camera. There's not really much else I can say about that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for
Yeah,
sharing that. And
yeah.
that was the only Bigfoot experience that you've had in your life. Is that correct?
It was. It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to share anything else that you feel is tied in with this subject, or do you want to leave it at that?
I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Justin,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time and your willingness to talk about this encounter, and thank you for getting your wife on the phone to relay this experience.
Yeah, you bet, man. Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and you guys have an excellent evening, and if you ever encounter anything else, feel free to reach back out to me.
Okay, will do. Thank you, buddy.
Yep, thank you, and you take care.
All right. All right. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, thank you very much to the Reeman family for sharing your Bigfoot encounter from the great state of Tennessee. And it looked like to me, from looking at a map, that Briceville, Tennessee was closer to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and a little farther away from the Cumberland National Park. So I'm not really sure on those details. I've never been to Tennessee myself, so I wouldn't be able to say for sure. But that sounds like an awesome place to hang out at. I would love to rent a cabin in the Smoky Mountains and just hang out for about a week or two. And I think that would be really cool, especially for Bigfoot research. There's a lot of reports from Tennessee, and it's one of the best states in the United States to look for Sasquatch. One could easily argue that there is more Sasquatch sightings on the East Coast or the Appalachian Mountains in general because there are more people on the East and West Coast, but I have noticed from my research that people also find a lot more Sasquatch structures in these areas. So that would tell me that there's more Sasquatch clans on the East Coast and maybe even more than on the West Coast. I have a lot more people finding X structures and wild things like that on the East Coast. Now, I have noticed a lot of structures being found in Colorado. I think there's a channel called Colorado Bigfoot, which those are some amazing structures, and I think they are made by Sasquatch. Now, I don't fall into the pareidolia and the strangeness behind his beliefs, but I do think that the structures he finds they're legit. I mean, they are the same ones that I find here. I've seen people find them in Canada and pretty much all over the world. So I think that's pretty cool. I had a guy from Tennessee who was on the channel a while back. His name was Dale, and he found some awesome Sasquatch structures by the Cumberland River. And he also had some really cool encounters. I'll try to post that up at the end screen here on this video. And this encounter also reminded me of a Bigfoot report that I took a few years ago from the Merrimack River here in Missouri. And the guy claims that he was with his little sister and they saw a Sasquatch running after a rabbit, and it took off into the woods. So I'll post that up on the end screen as well. Thank you everyone for listening, and until the next episode, you guys be safe out in the forest.